everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're really excited to be talking about the other part of we divided up this week's Christmas movies into two recaps. So this is our second one that we're recording. It is for Christmas in the Sea with the Singhs and Confession of a Christmas Letter. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Alysa's here.
Hello,
How
everybody.
are you doing?
Oh, I'm ready for Christmas. And
Oh,
it's only
good.
November.
Did watching these get you in the spirit?
My house has been decorated since the first week in November, so I
Oh, you're legit. I love it.
well,
That's
you
more
don't
than
want to
me.
know you don't want to know when I had my Halloween decorations up.
I almost forgot. I can put on my hat.
Yeah, there
There
you
we
go.
go.
Now we're ready.
Now we're ready.
Yes.
Yeah, so you do early. I didn't realize that you were an early decoration adopter.
Well, I am for practical reasons now that I live in an apartment complex and don't have
Mm,
enough room for all my decorations. I have a storage unit. And so
mm.
the idea of going back and forth between my storage unit is just unappealing. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
if I put it up early, then I can enjoy it and not have to deal with my storage unit until January 1st. See you
Yeah.
next year, storage unit.
I get that. I'm planning on this weekend is the plan
Yeah,
to
yeah,
start to do the put up the Christmas tree. I'm hoping my parents will help me because it's just it's a lot to do by yourself.
it
And
is.
it just goes by so much faster if you have a little bit of help.
Yes.
But you can always have a Hallmark movie on in the background.
Yes,
We all know
absolutely. Yeah.
that.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
All right, let's dive into these two movies. Let's talk about it. So, the first one is called Christmas with the Singhs, and this one is directed by Ponta Mosley and writers Patricia Isaac and Emily Ting. And we had Emily on the podcast, last month, because she directed a movie for Netflix called Girl Haunts Boy, which was really cute. And then I'm going through her stuff and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's written all these
Yeah.
cool Hallmark movies. So fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so it was fun because I did my little capsule review on Twitter, like I do, of Girl Haunts Boy. She responded and she's like, I feel like my worlds are colliding, She's like, I'm a big fan. And some people say that and then you talk to them and you're like, are you really a fan?
Are you?
But she was legit. She
that's
knew.
so cool.
Yeah,
That's
so that was
cool.
cool. She's awesome. Anyway, and then this stars Anuja Joshi and Benjamin Hollingsworth. And it is holiday traditions and cultures collide when Asha and Jake meet their families. So overall, what did you think about this one?
I liked it, but I was like, this would just be real easy if y'all just opened up to each other's cultures. But then it's kind of like if Home Alone took place at a time when there were cell phones. Like they'd call Kevin and be like, we're on our way. And he's like, okay.
Then there's no movie.
It's in the movie. So I understand the need for the tension, But that's what I kept thinking. Well, if you just did both things or figure out how to do everything, this would be fine.
Yeah.
But what did you think?
I mean, this kind of like family drama, family shenanigans kind of thing type of holiday movie is usually not my favorite. It can be good. I have seen ones that I like, Christmas Vacation I like, and there's some, but a lot of times they just kind of stress me out because it's just like I don't know, a lot of conflict and it's like a lot for me.
Yeah.
But that said, I do think this one was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they felt like a pretty authentic couple. Mm-hmm. They had, I think, good chemistry together. And the reason why Greek Wedding, which a lot of these are kind of modeled off of My Big Fat Greek Wedding, is that Greek Wedding, I think the reason why it works is that they have such a bond, such amazing chemistry together. And there's never any sense that they are going to break up or that they're going to, in fact, like the thing I love about that movie is that they're just like up for anything. They're like, okay, you want to, I have to get baptized. What do I have to do? If I have to, have those invitations, okay, whatever I can do. Like nothing. The reason why most wedding movies don't work is because you have people putting a lot of energy into stuff that does not matter at all. Like, everybody wants to have a nice wedding. I get that. But like in the grand scheme of things, the invitations, the favors, where people are sitting, stuff like that, it just doesn't matter. Like, and so it makes the bride feel very unlikable when she's freaking out about stuff that in the grand scheme of things does not matter at all.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times wedding movies just don't work. But the reason why Greek Wedding works is because they are the opposite. They're just like, okay, fine. Well, you want me to wear that dress? I'll wear that dress. Like,
is that one of your favorite wedding movies or movies about weddings?
It's one of my favorites. It's just one of my favorite romantic comedies, like period.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, so funny.
One of my favorite wedding movies is Father of the Bride. And the scene where he goes to the store to get hot dogs. And
I love that too. I'll tell you what's happening. I want to buy 12 hot dogs and 12 hot dog buns, but nobody sells 12 hot dog buns. They
it's like eight, but there's well, it's like tearing hot dog buns out of wrapping it back up.
That's a favorite also. And and Frank and on the cock.
Yeah, that's a good one. I have to add that to my monthly viewing list of movies this month.
I do. I love that one. But here you have Asha and Jake. They're getting engaged, and you see their like meet cute at the beginning, which I thought was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a little moment where you think, okay, there's where she says, "Oh, we need to break up" or whatever at the end. But overall, it's like a very likable, very, very committed. We're rooting for couple.
Yeah, I liked when they met. They seemed to have like that they clicked, and I liked that they knew each other before, and it was like catching up. Like he was like the popular kid, and she was like the math lead or whatever. She's into math, and so I liked that, and I liked, I was wondering how this was gonna go, and I'm like, I liked that it was about their relationship a year later. So they were already in a relationship. And so I feel like most of the movies that I've watched through this podcast, it's like there's a meet cute and then it's will they or won't they until the end when they will. Yeah. And so I did like that. I thought that
it was a little bit of a different dynamic. She's working they're both having to work on Christmas Day, which is unusual for these movies, but she's working in the emergency room. He hits his head. He has to go to the ER. She's there, and they have this like banter back and forth. You're impossible to forget. You're not living up to your most athletic title. Which was cute.
Yeah, good job hitting his head.
And so we find out some like backstory from her. She wanted to be a nurse, and her father wanted her to go to medical school. She took the MCATs, and she lies to her dad saying she failed the MCATs. That's why she's going to nursing instead of medical school.
Mm-hmm.
And in truth, she did like amazing on the MCATs. She lied about it.
She crushed them.
Yeah, exactly. But her family are like hardcore. She says that if Christmas was an Olympic sport, my family would take home all the golds.
Yeah, seriously, that dad,
Yeah.
he was like, her dad was like, he was going to do anything to win.
Yeah. And I should have thought in planning and scheduling, like I should have had somebody who's married on this recap because like a lot of this neither of us can speak to because we aren't. But I can imagine that it is got to be difficult to not only be starting a new family group with you and your spouse, but to be all of a sudden have all these new family members with various personalities and judgments and different things to now be part of your own family. And I thought that they did a pretty good job with that. It's clear that neither of them are home a lot. So the fact that their families were kind of like a little bit possessive of their time and of their kind of made sense to me. And they were trying to kind of make everybody happy, and it felt believable, I think.
Yeah, that's when I was starting to be like, but if you just sat down and did a calendar together using a method called PMOPs, which I used to teach, it's a problem solving, procedure. And I'm like, if you just sat down and did this little procedure and figured out the calendar, you could do all the things that you want to do. People could learn new traditions. You'd spend time with everybody. And I wanted to solve their problem for like half of the movie. That was the only thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, and to a certain extent, like it really is that the parents have to solve the problem because they still can't be at two places at once. And there are things going on at the same time. So they can, they tried to make everybody happy and they did a pretty good job of it. I mean, they were still able to go to basically everything. They were just a little bit late. And so, if it's really more either that's good enough for the parents or the parents have to kind of sit down and be like, okay, can you go to this thing versus this thing, and there were things that I felt like really is like the family vest really that important? Like it was a little harder to get invested in something like that, but I guess it could be, it's possible.
Well, he ended up wearing it, so it turned out.
He ended up wearing it, yeah. So then we have they at the end of their first date, they have this kiss. I've been wanting to do that all night. That was cute.
Yeah.
And then we get a year later and he proposes. And it turns out he didn't ask for permission. And
I'm like, people still do that? Yes, they do.
Yeah, they still do, because it's not as much. I don't think it's as much asking for permission as it is like just honoring her parents and like giving them a heads up ahead of time. I don't think that many people now actually were like, well, if he says no, then that's it. It's not going to happen, So it's more a sign of kind of respect.
Yeah, the only thing is, what if she said no? So he goes and asks the parents or talks to the parents, and then she's like, no.
Well, they didn't. That happened once, right? There was that person that she's talking about that her dad is kind of upset that had asked, and then she had said no.
Yeah,
I forget what. I've got so many notes on this one. I asked once before, but said no. Yeah.
But the question is, did he ask the parents?
I thought that they said that. I thought they said that, but I didn't write that in my notes. I just said that she was asked once before, but said no. But anyway, and because my dad might actually challenge you to a duel.
Yeah, her dad was a little spicy.
Yeah. Well, her dad is very upset with him. And I was surprised that they did the whole, oh, you want us to sleep in different rooms?
Yeah.
Because most of the time in Hallmark, it's just assumed. Like you don't even have that conversation that of course you will be in different rooms because you're not married. It's like chastity before marriage is just the going assumption in the world of Hallmark. And so I thought that was interesting that they even had that conversation.
Yeah. Well, because that becomes an issue later too. That the parents are like, why would you even think that you would be in this room together?
Yeah. It's like, oh,
well, like I said,
awkward.
the dad is spicy, sassy, whatever you want to call it. He is sassy. He would, I don't know. I thought he was fun.
Yeah. I mean, he was a strong personality, but I felt like I felt like it was reasonable. Whereas like some other overprotective dads we've seen in Hallmark movies, it's just like, what? Because like it doesn't even make sense. And he's like concerned about this kid and that he is he a right fit, for our daughter, as opposed to like, I don't know, like there was one, I think it was last year, where this dad, he was like so mad at his daughter for moving to the city. It was like he'd been personally abandoned. And I was just like, what is wrong with this person? Like, just because, like, I mean, a bunch of my siblings don't live near our parents. That doesn't mean they love them any less. Like, it's just the way life works sometimes.
But also, she's a full-fledged adult and shouldn't she be able to do what she wants to do?
Yeah, it's not like a personal affront because they have to move. I don't know. And so yes, he was strong, but he was like relatively believable, I felt like.
Yeah.
So, and I do think that it would make more sense that they were a little bit younger than than that. Because I think by the time they were the age of the actors, most parents would be like, oh, yeah. I think you're more likely to get. I think you're more likely to get that hesitation if like in Father of the Bride when she's just in college.
Yeah, she's 22.
Yeah. So
or 21, I forget which.
Yeah. But anyway, so they start out with the spicy food and and that it was pretty funny. Where do you land on spicy food? Do you like it? Not like it?
Well, today I had a coworker come into my office when I was eating lunch, and she's like, "What kind of, ants on a log are you eating? Ants on a log like peanut butter with raisins." But I had celery with cream cheese and hot sauce on top of it.
Oh.
So I like spicy, but not too spicy. Like my brother's like, "Here, I got this ghost pepper." No. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I'm pretty wimpy when it comes to spice. I like things to have flavor, but I'm a medium girl at best.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Like, I mean, I like mild salsa. There's a salsa at Trader Joe's I really like that I eat a lot. And so, yeah, I'm probably more of a mild medium girl, but sometimes I really like, anytime I can put hot sauce on something, I'm trying.
Well, he makes it through, and because some of that Indian food is very spicy. It's very spicy. And then his dad, so his parents are divorced, and his dad is just like eating Chinese takeout, but he's like, because of his experience with divorce, he's like really concerned. And have you talked about wanting to have kids? Have you talked about, another thing that I think would be more of a concern if with older, another thing I think would be more of a concern with younger people getting married than with them, but whatever.
No, that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment because it's like, they look like they're, what were they, like late 20s, early 30s, where most people would probably like,
definitely in their 30s. And it's like, I mean, what are you going to be like? Are you ready to have kids in your 30s? Of course they are. Like, what?
If they want kids, but yeah.
Yeah, if they want kids, like, it should be fine. Anyway, So but he's bringing up all these questions, and he's like, we haven't even really talked about this and this stuff, even though they've been dating for a year. So that seems somewhat unlikely, but whatever.
Yeah.
And his mom was like, I've seen Eat, Pray, Love 3 times. Which is
the
funny.
mom was trying way too hard, and I just wanted to be like, you don't have to do all this extra stuff. Just be yourself and it'll be fine.
Yeah. It was funny. Again, felt pretty authentic, I think.
Yeah. But I still was like, no. I was like,
well, no,
okay.
not that it felt awkward, but like in an authentic way that somebody that was trying would actually do those kind of things. So it'd be like,
she was trying way too hard.
Yeah, it was like it was authentic in its uncomfortability.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So, and so then we find out about IST, Indian Standard Time, which made me laugh because they're always late to everything, I guess.
Yeah.
And her dad is like trying to put him through the ringer, making him put up the Christmas lights and things like that. And she's like, I don't know if I want you like killing my fiance.
Well, yeah, he fell off the ladder. Yeah. It was to put him in dangerous situations. First spicy food, and then trying to put up decorations.
Yeah. And there is a big kind of point made about the difference with one family in taking off shoes versus not taking off shoes.
Yes. Yep.
And I know for me, I always take off my shoes. And it's not like I'm like precious about my carpet. I don't even care. It's just like the way I was raised. It's just what I do when I get home. I'm like Mr. Rogers, just take off my shoes.
Oh, I miss Mr. Rogers. He was awesome.
Yeah.
I have a slipper for every occasion, so I'm definitely not wearing shoes in the house. I've got Halloween slippers, I got Christmas slippers, I got slippers with strawberries on it for spring, I got pink and hot pink slippers.
Yeah.
I'm a little obsessed with slippers, so yeah, I'm definitely not wearing my shoes in the house.
I've been very fortunate with all of my in-laws that my siblings have married, and they've all been people that I have had no problem like getting along with. There's been nobody that if they're listening to this podcast, I love you all. But but I've been lucky that way. I do think that would be hard if you didn't get along, if you didn't have some degree of chemistry, like just a little bit, to get along. If you had that problem, that would be hard. And I think that especially just those little sort of daily routines that sometimes are even unique to individual families, that they're just used to these sort of traditions. And, like, for instance, in my family, for Christmas Eve, we always have this German meal. And part of it is because, we're Wagners and it's part of our heritage and everything. We have a German meal with sausages and sauerkraut and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's delicious, but German food isn't for everybody. So I could definitely picture some people like, oh, what, weird. I think that's like a really strange tradition. But so I can imagine that would be a challenge about merging families.
Yeah, I think so. One thing though I do think is like something like taking the shoes off. If I'm going into someone else's house and they're asking me to take the shoes off, I would do it. And you think they would too, because earlier his mom is trying so hard, but then they didn't seem to try at little things that would have been a gesture of kindness. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm trying, to understand this family and their traditions and respect them in their home or whatever the case. I was like, you were just trying hard a minute ago. Why couldn't you take your shoes off?
Yeah. So then her dad gets second in the decorating competition. And he's upset.
Unacceptable.
He's upset. Yeah. He's not happy at all. And they get in this big fight over the engagement party. Where they're going to have it, who's going to throw it, what's going on, and then also a fight over cricket.
In baseball.
Yeah. And the like little sort of church carnival, because her family is like hardcore Christian.
Yep.
In this, and very dedicated. And the church carnival, it was pretty fun, I thought. Very Hallmarky. They had candy cane hook game, snowball pitching game, and the gingerbread house competition. And the big winner is his mom. So that's starting to get a little
competition.
rivalry. Yeah. And she's agreed to be at both places on Christmas Eve. And that's a recipe for disaster, but they're going to try to make both work.
Yeah.
And she's like, we found a way to make all our traditions work together.
Yeah. I think they should at least try. That's all I want.
They are trying. But the thing is that in the future, they will just have their unique family traditions, right?
Yeah.
So right now it's his family, her family, and now
their own traditions.
Our family. Yeah. And so we'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the new Gift Wrap Romance Sweet Clean series, available now wherever you purchase books. Looking for some cheerful escapism this holiday season? Snuggle up with a cup of hot cocoa and lose yourself in 5 festive tales of romance with the new book series, Gift Wrapped Romance. These 5 funny and feel-good books have all the jolly hallmarks of perfect holiday reading: twinkling lights, mistletoe kisses, and plenty of Christmas cheer. Swoon over your new book boyfriends as they find love in the most magical season of all. Find the books wherever you do your book shopping this holiday season, or use the affiliate link in the description below. He watches the Bollywood, and we see that later when he learns to dance, which is really fun. And so they fall asleep watching the Bollywood on the sofa. And her dad finds him the next morning. He is furious.
Like I said, a little sassy.
Again, something that makes more sense if they were younger.
Yeah.
If they're 20, and you find then
teenagers.
All these things make more sense if it's a younger cast. Anyway,
I mean, that's fair.
There was a really fun scene where they were picking out her sari for the engagement party. I liked that. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And her mom says, "If you're sure, we're sure." Just cute.
Yeah.
And that's where we find out about the heirloom vest that it's like been in the family. I'm like, really? Does everybody really have it's just very unusual to have men's clothing that's like sentimental.
But they're Irish. That's the Irish vest.
Irish. Our big vests, our big deal. And but whatever. They had to do something. They had to find something on his side, So that's what they came up with, and it was fine. And then he says, "Don't let the family drama make you forget what makes you two special. And you still love her, and that's all that matters."
Amen.
So they're at the pageant for his family's church, and they all of a sudden are without a Mary and Joseph. So they're like, "Here, will you help us? Will you help us?" So they put on all of the the traditional garb for that, and and then they're going to be late to the big performance at her church. And they show up as Mary Joseph. They're a little late, but and her dad is fuming, is very upset, and because he reads the Christmas story, but they're late, and he's very upset. And then she feels like, oh well, this is just not going to work. We tried our best, so she has a moment kind of weakness, and I think it's her mom who talks to her about it, that these things, it's just a thing. It's not like these things in our, that all of this stuff, these traditions, these other things, like they do matter, but in the end, it's not worth like a relationship matter kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You know? That
their relationship matters, and then the traditions, like you said before, they're going to create their own traditions anyway.
Because then, so the two dads start talking, and they're like, we really aren't that different in the end. Like we both, I mean, they really aren't. I mean, they're both Christians. They're both from the same place. They're both, they both like watching sports, even if it's a different sport. They really aren't that different. And her dad says, can you forgive an overprotective father and accept my blessing? And this is when she tells him about the MCATs.
Yes.
Which was very sweet and endearing.
Yeah. But also he was probably like, what? Excuse me?
Aw. And so then he gives the blessing, and then you see him outside. You see Ben Hollingworth outside dancing, or giving her the Bollywood dance with the boombox and everything like that, which was really
Little
fun.
say anything, I'll say anything.
Yep. And so then they dance, and then you have the engagement party, and he's wearing both
his vest,
both the vest and the jacket thing that they had.
Yeah.
And she looked beautiful. It was really fun to see that party and to see them, end happy, and the family's happy. And so overall, it just had a real nice spirit to it.
Yeah.
And so, this one, especially for being this kind of like stressful family movie, which is usually not my thing. I did enjoy it. I would probably give it like a 4 out of 5.
Yeah. I'd probably give it like a 4.
Yeah.
I feel like I could have solved all their problems 10 minutes in, but that's just me. But as a reminder, dear listeners, that I grew up on Lifetime. And so we're expecting to solve crimes.
But in a way, though, those like simple problems, aren't those usually kind of what most conflict in families about, about these like little miscommunications, little like it's usually like, you could probably say that about most conflict in most families is like, let's just sit down and hash it out, but
well, that's the thing, like most
people have pride, and people have their things that make it hard.
Yep. Conflict is nothing but incompatible goals. You need to figure out how to make your goals align.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Conflict is nothing more than incompatible goals. Mm-hmm. They should put that on like a
T-shirt
point or something like that.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hearty, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Okay, now we are talking about Confessions of a Christmas Letter. And this is director Heather Hawthorne Doyle, writers Jennifer Smith and Kate Smith, and stars Angela Kinsey. And it's Seti Rose, an eccentric matriarch, hires struggling novelist Juan to write her holiday contest entry. A mix-up sparks gossip of Juan's engagement to Seti's daughter, Lily, leading the family to play along humorously. What did you think about this movie?
What did I watch? What was going on? Why were they wearing the same onesie for like 17 days in a row?
I think this is one of the only Hallmark movies that I can say that she was literally trying to kill them with Christmas. Like they were worn down by the end. They were like weakened versions of their former self by the end of this experience. It was, I mean, just the idea of having a Christmas letter writing contest is bonkers. And I mean, because everybody, you write like these, or a lot of families have their end of the year letter. Like, this is what so-and-so is doing, and this is what so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of times they can be like a little catty and a little show-offy and whatever, we just know that. But the idea of it being like a competition and there being the wall of fame was hilarious and bizarre and so funny.
It was wild.
And so she hires this writer who's had writer's block, hires them to write the year-end letter.
Another country.
When
he wasn't even like a county over. He was from a different country.
She's gonna hire him to write the end of the year letter so that they can get on the wall of hope, wall of fame.
Here's the thing. This is too much of keeping up with the Joneses. And what people need to remember is that comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
And this was too much.
It was, I thought it was completely ridiculous. If you're looking to any kind of like realism, like this Christmas with the Singhs was like fairly authentic and realistic. Like I could basically imagine that situation happening. Yeah. This is like in the fun house, in the madhouse. This is completely absurd, but like I did kind of enjoy it. I was laughing throughout.
I was just like, Juan, you came from Puerto Rico to write a family's Christmas letter.
And not only that, so he comes over here.
He doesn't need to come.
He comes over Zoom. Here. He comes over to write this Christmas letter for her. And then he ends up fake dating her daughter. And like, it just, like you think the initial premise is nutty on its own. But then it just keeps precipitously getting more and more insane as the movie went along.
I can't believe he came from another country when he could have easily Zoomed people, interviewed them, and wrote it from the comfort of his own home. But no, he had to come suffer with the rest of them around Christmas with the main character. I forget what her name is. I'm terrible with names, but
Angela Kinsey's character.
Yeah, Angela from The Office. I thought she was cute.
Is her name. Yeah, and so he ends up in the same Uber with her daughter.
The ride share. And so they meet and somehow they end up being, they get fake fiance. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, what's that? There was so many storylines, like so many levels to the stories.
Yeah. And then, so each morning, they're required, I guess, to sleep in these onesies, these Christmas onesies. And
what? When did they wash them? Like, they seriously wore. I thought there'd be a different onesie every day.
I did too.
That would have been wild, but that makes a lot more sense to me than wearing the same onesie. This is how you beat people down. This is how you break people's spirit.
And when he first tries on the onesie, he is like having a panic attack. He's like, I can't breathe. I can't. And like he gets precipitously just sort of like, it's like he's entered a cult, and by the end he is like fully given in. He has some resistance at the beginning, but by the end there's nothing left. And it was
oh my god,
so funny. Yeah. When she brings up all, I mean, I don't want to oversell it. It wasn't so funny, but it was like bonkers funny. And
it was wild.
She brings out those the sticky buns, and they're like completely torched.
They're on fire still. She's like, my famous Cinnabons or whatever she said, and they're on fire.
Trying to eat it and stuff, and I'm like, why? And so he's like, okay, I'll write the letter. And they're like, you need to put the P in the rows for pros. Which was like, and it was like, that's not even a Christmas thing.
Have a good
night. And like everyone in town is writing their letters, and they're all really catty and everything. And you have him and the daughter what's her name? Lily.
Lily. That's the only name I remember.
They end up tangoing together at the center. And
I don't know if I'd call it tangoing, but they certainly did some sort of dance number.
And it turns out he has a competitive streak. And he says, in a span of 2 days, I've been forced into a fake engagement, suffocated by a onesie, publicly humiliated on the dance floor, and thrust into a stream of your mother's desperation. And they show like all the other letters that are in competition, and none of them seem like very Christmassy.
No.
To me. And,
no, not at all.
Yeah. And like the letters that he's writing also don't seem very Christmassy. And I guess so her response is, well, writing these Christmas letters, it's all about inspiring people to be the best versions of themselves.
Here's the thing. We don't need to compare ourselves to other people to do it, though.
Yeah.
We can just figure out, okay, this is my therapist talking. Who do you want to be? How do you want to show up? What kind of attitude do you want to have? And you do that.
Well, and I think we all understand that in those kinds of letters that we're comparing our best with their best, you know, like, and when we read it, we think, oh my gosh, I'm terrible. But like, then you're thinking, this is my worst with their best. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so it is a very slippery slope that you have to be careful. And I think the best way to deal with Christmas envy, whether it's letters or whatever.
Thank you for using envy correctly. Love it. Everyone gets jealousy and envy confused, and you got it right. Yes. Awesome.
I think the best thing is to try to find some way to make whatever you're doing a little bit personal and a little creative. So like her hiring this writer is the absolute wrong thing to do, because it's not her. It's not who she is. And like, for instance, my cousins, she has a big family. She's got like 6 kids, big family. And every year they do a Halloween card for their Christmas letter. And they stage a Brown family movie poster where they have them all dressed. Cool. They've done Ghostbusters. They've done Home Alone. They've done, they did Napoleon Dynamite this year. And
awesome.
It's really, really fun. And I know even as the cousin, I look forward. I'm like, ooh, what are they going to do this year? And because it's a Halloween, it's a little different. And so I think that helps, as opposed to just like, here, I'm getting this letter and all the great things that the Browns did this year, you know, and then I'm feeling that, you know, I'm feeling the envy, I'm feeling the, and instead I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to see, you know, what it's like, a little bit more personal, a little more creative. You feel like, oh, I'm one of the special people that got one in the mail, you know? And so I don't know. I think that can help.
Yeah. I think it's like figuring out what we enjoy, what we want to do it for ourselves, and make it what would be special for us. So like, my Christmas tree looks different than everyone else's, right? Because I've curated particular ornaments from, well, I got some from when I was a kid, and I have, you know, I have this like just random collection. I have angels, I have Michigan State stuff, I have, you know, food, I have animals. Like, that's what makes my Christmas tree mine. And so when I see other people's Christmas tree, I can be like, that's really pretty, but that's not what I would do. And that's okay. We all do different things.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it's like got that a little bit of your own personality into it, I just think it helps. It makes the whole thing. And so he says, the thing I like about writing is because I can control the end of the story. Which is very, very true. And but we all need help getting through the rough patches. One thing I did not understand is what's going on with her and her relationship with her son. She seemed to be, she like hiding the fact that he's gay, but he's like married, right?
Yeah. Well,
so I took it as about what was going on there.
I took it as he didn't want to be any part of the letter because she oversold and said, that one year that he was going to be teaching a ceramics class when he didn't know what he was doing. And she's like, so she was like making it bigger than what it actually was. And I think that made him uncomfortable. And so he's like, I don't want to be part of the letter.
I was confused by that. I was like, what? Why is she
Yeah.
hiding? Like, everybody seems to know he's gay. Like, I took it as that she was like hiding it because of that. But yeah, I can see what you're saying. And I liked when they're talking about neighbor Sue saying she's a Grinch in Santa's clothing.
Oh, that lady was annoying.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy her. I did not enjoy her at all.
Like, I didn't enjoy her, but like everybody's sort of reactions to her, I thought was a little funny. She's a Grinch in Santa's clothing. And what do you think of Choco the Christmas frog, the Christmas crab? This is like great idea. That made me laugh.
Oh my god. This movie was just wild. I forgot about that until you just said it. Oh my god.
So then there's they go out to the shed and they find out there's all this stuff that's been outlawed by Sue. and also we have Lily is auditioning for a play.
Yeah.
Which was very convenient because they're fake dating, but like we need a way to get them to like kiss, I guess. And but so it's auditioning for the play and they kiss.
Yeah.
And I liked this quote by Garrison Keillor that they had. The lovely thing about Christmas is that it's a compulsory, like a thunderstorm. We all go through it together.
Especially in those onesies.
Yeah.
And with your burnt Cinnabons.
I also liked when they said that in her instructions, because it was just like insane. This like instructions that she had for each day. And like seriously, by the end, they were like, oh
yeah, they couldn't handle it. Their spirit had been broken.
Reminder that they don't give TMI on medical procedures. It really kills the Christmas mood. So then they put out all of the big blow-ups and everything, and that did make me laugh because my mom hates those big blow-ups. Like, I don't think my mom would come visit me if I had a big blow-up in my yard. That would be it.
That's hilarious.
Christmas would be over. But Sue was very upset.
I just don't understand blow-ups, if I might add a little something. I feel like there's a house in my neighborhood that has a lot of those blow-ups. And I feel like every day they're flat. And then they have to blow them up. Yeah. And then they go flat. And then they have to blow them up. And it goes flat. Yeah. And I'm like, why did you give yourself a chore to do every single day for Christmas? You have to go out there and blow them back up. I don't understand. It's too much work. It's too much work.
They're fun enough, but like not enough to invite my mother's wrath. Not worth it to me. But I did like that he has those statues of the Catholic saints. Because usually in Hallmark movies, they're not religion specific unless it's a Hanukkah movie.
Yeah.
You know? And so that was kind of nice, you know? Like I didn't know that was a part of Christmas for Catholics. They have different saint statues.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's nice. And he's like listening in on the book club and he can't like help himself. He joins in.
Because it's his book.
It's his book. Yeah. And that's when Sue sneaks in, finds his novel, and so she realizes that he's there. He's the writer or whatever. And they say, we should never underestimate the damage one woman can do. And they say, you are a shining example of that, dear. and so Lily gets the part. So that's very exciting.
Yeah.
And then we've gotten little scenes of his we've gotten little scenes of his dad and Abuelo. And he's not been like answering his phone calls, like I said, because he's in this like cult of
Christmas
Christmas cult. And so they come to hopefully rescue him. And Sue thinks that they're like part of the mafia, which is hilarious. And we also find out Scandal, Sue's husband, is the one who writes the letters, not Sue.
See, she's always up in other people's business when she should be concerned about her own.
Yeah. And so then they end up winning they're on the Wall of Fame. They won the letter, but it's because of Seti's letter. It's not his letter. She writes her own letter.
I have to say why I stuck around for this movie, because it was wild, was I wanted to know what the end letter was going to be.
Yeah.
And like Juan wrote a letter, but she turned it down so that she could write her. She's like, I need to write my own.
Yeah.
But I want to know what he wrote. We need some behind the scenes. What's Juan's letter say?
It's like, so it turned out to be my favorite Christmas ever.
Oh my God.
And they get a big kiss and everybody claps and he writes the letter, but she doesn't use it and she ends up on the Wall of Fame. So I mean, if somebody were to ask me, I could not in good conscience say this is a good movie. It is not a good movie, but it was bonkers and kind of funny and unhinged. And if I had to pick, because we talked about this with Trivia St. Nick's, which was also crazy and unhinged. Like most of the time, Hallmark movies, if they're bad, they're usually boring. They're usually not bonkers bad. But ironically, you have been on a recap for another totally bonkers Hallmark Christmas movie with The Fabled Holiday. Remember that one?
Oh my God.
And I would way rather watch this than that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I would way rather watch this than that because that one was very sincere in its bonkerness. This was, I think, more trying to be funny.
Yeah.
This was a comedy.
I just didn't like the premise that you have to write a letter about your family and all the things that they've done to get on a wall, like a Hall of Fame. Like,
it was
to
ridiculous.
Me, I just feel like it's encouraging quote unquote bad behavior, like to feel bad about yourself if you don't measure up. If you don't get on the Hall of Fame, that there's something wrong with you, that you have to compare yourself to other people. So I think I was bothered by the premise, and then just was like, they have worn onesies for several weeks, the same one, and I'm like, who's doing the onesie laundry? Like, honestly, who is there? An elf we don't know about? But I was bothered by the premise, and so I was sort of like, what is happening?
I guess, like, for me, I mean, I'd probably give it like a 3.5 because it was just so silly that like it didn't really bother me that much that the premise was ridiculous. In fact, it was probably in its favor because it was so insane. But yeah, I mean, it's totally fair. So yeah, I'd probably give it like 3.5, 3.25. It was nuts.
I think the highest I would go is 3, but I'm thinking more like a 2.5.
Okay. Yeah. I just had such a fun time watching it.
I just was like, I watched it when I was getting ready in the morning, so I recorded it because I go to bed really early. And so I recorded it and I was like getting ready, like, what? And then I finished watching it at work and I was like, what is
Yeah, it really is crazy. She brings out those burnt cinnamon rolls. I just was dying laughing.
Although you might think this is weird, I really want to have a cinnamon roll right now. I might have to get some and make some this weekend.
In a span of 2 days, I've been forced into a fake engagement, suffocated by a onesie, publicly humiliated on the dance floor, and thrust into a stream of your mother's desperation.
That's a good line.
Yeah, that was really... So there we go. That is Confessions of a Christmas Letter. Let us know what you think about this insanity and what you think of Christmas with the Singhs. That one was definitely the better of the two, but not quite as bonkers, but still fun.
Yeah.
As them. So let us know what you think. And Alysa, where can people follow you on social media, all the fun stuff?
Yeah, I am on Instagram and recently on Blue Sky, and I'm Mona Lisa 14, so it's MONALYSA 14.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews all over the place. And also make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod, Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. In fact, we're doing a giveaway right now of tickets. We have 3 tickets to Best Christmas Pageant Ever that if you put in a review or DM us, either way, for the show on iTunes, you can be entered to win one of those 3 free tickets for Best of Christmas Pageant Ever. That's stateside that are available for that. So check that out. It really helps us a lot. Those reviews, as it helps people to find when they search. It helps us come up easier if we have more reviews. So please, 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 please take a second and do that. We really appreciate it. And then the merch store, we have new holiday inspired movie designs. We've got Home Alone, we've got Die Hard, we've got Christmas Story, we've got it all. So definitely check out over there. It's really fun. TeePublic, our merch store, and it goes to help the podcast, and we sure appreciate it. And there we go. That's it. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Be sure to wash your onesies.
Yes.